The conference room on the 42nd floor of Morrison Industries stretched out in glass and steel, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a sweeping view of downtown Seattle. On clear days, Mount Rainier sat on the horizon like a silent witness. Today, storm clouds rolled over the Sound, casting the water in cold shades of slate. Fitting, considering what was about to happen. I sat in the far corner, slightly removed from the long mahogany table where the board had gathered. No one questioned my presence. No one questioned me at all anymore. I was Daniel Morrison, the quiet son, the shadow worker who'd spent 15 years in the background, steady and unnoticed, the one they never saw coming. Vanessa stood at the head of the table, occupying the place our father had commanded before his stroke 6 months earlier. Her red power suit, easily worth $5,000, matched the confidence she wore like armor. Behind her, our mother dabbed at tearful eyes. Uncle Thomas nodded in approval. Marcus leaned back in his chair with a smug grin. They were all here for the coronation, Vanessa's coronation. As you all know, she began, using the polished tone she perfected at Harvard Business School. Dad's condition has left a leadership vacuum. Morrison Industries needs strong, decisive direction. The markets are unstable, competitors are predatory, and we cannot drift any longer. She clicked her remote. Slides lit the screen behind her. I've spent 6 months crafting a full restructuring plan. We'll streamline operations, divest weak divisions, and refocus on core competencies. Under my leadership, Morrison Industries will become leaner, stronger, and more profitable. Most of the family nodded. Marcus even started a slow clap, which faded when no one joined. I'm proposing the board vote today to install me as CEO effective immediately, she continued. I've already secured proxy votes from Mother, Marcus, Uncle Thomas, and Aunt Caroline, 42% of family shares. Combined with committed institutional backing, we have the numbers to proceed. Robert Chin, our CFO of 20 years, cleared his throat softly. Vanessa didn't look at him. I'm also recommending we sell the Ohio manufacturing division. The one Dad built from the ground up, I said quietly. Heads turned. I rarely spoke. I was the invisible Morrison, the one who tinkered in product development while the others battled for power. The Ohio plant is bleeding money, Vanessa replied, irritation seeping through. Sentiment doesn't pay dividends. Would Dad agree with that? He was a businessman first. He'd want us to make smart decisions. Smart, I echoed. That what we're calling this? Marcus scoffed. What's your issue, Danny? You don't understand the business side. Stay in your lab and let the adults handle strategy. I smiled faintly. I'm 38. Marcus, I outgrew Danny 2 decades ago. You know what he means. Vanessa cut in. You've never wanted leadership. You're not even in the running. So why speak up now? I'm not starting anything, I said. I'm finishing what I began 15 months ago. Silence rippled across the table. Robert's expression didn't change, but I saw the tiny twitch at the corner of his mouth. He knew. Mother looked confused. Daniel, what are you talking about? Maybe now is the right time, Robert said gently, to share the documentation. I took out my phone. The screen behind Vanessa flickered and changed. Her presentation vanished, replaced by a different document. This, I said, is a stock transfer agreement, dated March 15th of last year. It transfers 90% of Morrison Industries shares from our father to me. Fully executed, filed, and recorded 6 weeks before his stroke. The room erupted. That's impossible, Vanessa stammered, but her confidence was already cracking. It's public record, Robert said, registered with the SEC, certified by the state. Daniel Morrison is the majority shareholder, and has been for 15 months. Dad would never, Marcus began. He did, I said. We spent 18 months preparing this. He wanted the company protected. He wanted leadership that understood what he built. My mother stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Why keep this secret? Because Dad asked me to. He wanted to see how everyone acted without the safety net, who stepped up for the company, and who chased power. This is madness, Vanessa said, voice fraying. You can't drop this on us now. I didn't drop anything, I said calmly. It's been public for a year. You just never looked. You assumed that because I worked in product development, because I didn't fight for the spotlight, I didn't matter. Uncle Thomas swallowed. even if this is true. You don't have the credentials. You don't have the MBA. I do, I interrupted. Wharton, completed online over the past 3 years. Summa cum laude. Dad guided me through the program. Marcus blinked. You did an MBA, secretly? Not secretly, quietly. Vanessa's hands trembled as she gripped her chair. This doesn't fix the company's problems. The Ohio division is still losing money? I said. It isn't. A click. New numbers filled the screen. The Ohio plant became profitable 7 months ago. I implemented new automation, renegotiated supplier contracts, and hired a manager who understands manufacturing more than cost-cutting. The data was damning. Vanessa's entire plan disintegrated on the spot. The divisions you want to sell? I continued. 3 are already restructured. The other 2 will be profitable within the next fiscal year. I didn't bet Dad's legacy to look good on quarterly reports. I repaired it. Aunt Caroline leaned forward. If you've been doing all this, why tell us now? Because Vanessa forced a public vote. So now we're having a public discussion about who actually owns this company. Robert stood. For the record, I've been working with Daniel since the transfer. His initiatives all passed board review. The board members who read the reports have known. 3 non-family board members nodded. You knew? Vanessa whispered. The trade. We were told the family knew. One replied. We had no reason to question it. Because you assumed, I said. Just like all of you assumed. I didn't broadcast my role, so you thought I didn't have one. Mother wept openly now. Why didn't your father divide the shares equally? He tried, I said. Vanessa didn't want to share control. Marcus planned to sell his portion for cash. Dad realized equality would only cause war, so he chose differently. He chose you, Marcus said bitterly. He chose the one who put the company first. Vanessa's voice was barely audible. You let me stand here and present my plan. You let me believe. I wanted to hear what you'd do, I said. Now I know. She lifted her eyes to mine. And what do you know? That if you were in charge, I said calmly, you'd dismantle everything Dad spent a lifetime building. You'd sell the Ohio plant where Dad built the first prototype. You'd strip out the divisions that serve smaller markets because they don't fit some consulting firm's definition of core. You'd turn Morrison Industries into another hollow corporation chasing quarterly numbers. Vanessa's eyes flashed. That's not fair. It's accurate, I said. Your entire restructuring plan is about cutting costs and pumping the stock price. There's nothing about innovation, employee development, or long-term value. You're thinking like a consultant fighting for a case study, not an owner protecting a legacy. And you're thinking like a sentimentalist. Business isn't about preserving the past, she said sharply. It's about adapting to the future. I agree completely, I replied. Which is why I invested $40 million into R&D this year. Why I expanded our patent portfolio by 30%. Why I acquired 2 tech firms to strengthen our product line. I'm not preserving the past, Vanessa, I'm building the future. I'm just not destroying Dad's work to do it. Robert Chin switched slides. Actual performance numbers filled the screen, revenue up, margins rising, retention improving, customer satisfaction at record highs. Marcus stared. This isn't possible. You couldn't have done all this without us knowing. I did it while you weren't paying attention, I said. Vanessa was running strategy decks at her consulting firm. Marcus was tweaking his investment portfolio. Uncle Thomas was planning retirement. None of you were watching what was happening inside Morrison Industries. The only ones who were, aren't related to us. One of the independent directors nodded. Daniel has presented detailed updates every quarter. We've approved his initiatives unanimously. The only people who missed them were the ones who didn't read the reports. Vanessa slowly lowered herself into the chair at the head of the table, her throne now slipping from beneath her. Her triumph had collapsed into disbelief. I don't understand, she whispered. Why would Dad hide this from us? Why let us think we still had control? You did have control, I said. 10%, collectively. That's real ownership. You could have been involved. You could have attended meetings, read filings, contributed to long-term planning, but you didn't. You assumed power would fall to the loudest voice after Dad's stroke. It was a test. My mother spoke quietly, almost to herself. He was watching us. He wanted to see what mattered to each of us. Vanessa wanted control. Marcus wanted money. Thomas wanted comfort. She looked at me. And you wanted the company to survive. Aunt Caroline asked carefully, so what happens now? Are you firing all of us? Firing you from what? I asked. None of you work here, except Uncle Thomas, and he's retiring. I'm not firing anyone. I'm clarifying reality. I own this company. I run this company. And I decide its direction. But you still need our votes for some actions, Marcus said desperately. 10% can block major changes. True, I said. Which is why I've structured every major initiative to avoid requiring a supermajority. But if you want to fight me on every decision, I can restructure the governance model and reduce your influence even further. That's your choice. Vanessa looked up, voice fragile. And the board seat? The co-leadership role you implied? I didn't imply anything. You built that expectation yourself. Dad said you had leadership potential. You do, but not here. Not in a company you wanted to dismantle for a cleaner spreadsheet. She stood abruptly, gathering her binder, her pride fracturing. I can't believe this. I spent 6 months preparing for today. 6 months building alliances, crafting strategy, and you're telling me none of it matters? It does matter, I said. Just not here. Morrison Industries doesn't need a leader who sees employees as numbers. It needs someone who understands that we're employing 3,000 people across 4 states, supporting communities, building products that matter. And you think I don't understand that, she snapped. Your plan eliminated 800 jobs. You called it efficiency. I call it collapsing families for a 2% margin bump. There's a difference between hard decisions and cruel ones. Dad knew that. That's why he chose me. Marcus shoved his chair back. This is manipulation. You pushed Dad into this when he was vulnerable. Dad was sharper than ever, I said firmly. This decision was made a year before his stroke. Lawyers vetted it. Strategists analyzed it. He thought about it longer and harder than any of you think he did. A choice to betray his children, Marcus spat. A choice to protect his company, I corrected. And if that feels like betrayal, maybe that explains why he couldn't trust you with it. Marcus's face reddened. You're not better than us, Daniel. You're just sneaky. I'm patient, I said. I spent 15 years learning this company inside out, operations, finance, HR, supply chain, strategy. I worked 60-hour weeks while you were touring Europe. I earned this. Dad didn't hand it to me. I proved it. Quietly. Consistently. Without applause. His mouth tightened. And that, I finished, is the difference. By being exactly what Dad needed when he needed it. Uncle Thomas stood slowly, his weathered face thoughtful. Your father spoke to me about this. About a year before the transfer. He asked my opinion on the succession plan. Everyone turned toward him. I told him he should split it equally, keep the peace, avoid conflict. And do you know what he said? He said, Thomas, I didn't build this company to keep the peace. I built it to last. And only one of my children understands what that means. He meant Daniel. My mother whispered. He meant the one willing to sacrifice personal glory for the company's success. The one who'd work in obscurity if it meant the business thrived. He knew Vanessa would want to reshape the company in her image. He knew Marcus would sell his shares the moment things got difficult. And he knew Daniel would protect what he'd built, even if nobody appreciated it. Did you know? Vanessa asked Uncle Thomas quietly, her voice tinged with disbelief. Not officially, he admitted, but I suspected. The way your father asked about operational details, only Daniel would know. I didn't say anything because I trusted him. Everyone did, except when it came to choosing me. I added softly. The room fell silent. I still have a board meeting to run. I continued. The agenda included your CEO proposal and restructuring plan. Shall we table those permanently? Yes, Robert Chin confirmed. But I do have several proposals I've been preparing for the last 6 months. I rose and walked to the head of the table, where Vanessa lingered. For a moment, I saw past the ambition and anger to the sister I'd grown up with, the one who taught me chess when I was 7, who defended me from bullies in middle school. You could have told me, she said quietly, before today. You could have warned me. Would I have listened, or tried to fight it? We both knew the truth. There's a place for you here, Vanessa, I said gently, not as CEO, not running restructuring initiatives that dismantle Dad's legacy, but as a strategic advisor, someone who challenges my thinking, pushes for efficiency, offers perspective. I need people who think differently than I do. As long as they understand the bigger picture, they can contribute without undermining what we're protecting. She gathered her materials and moved toward the door. I need time, she said. Time to decide if I can work for my younger brother. Time to accept that Dad chose you over me. Take the time you need. But remember, Dad didn't choose me over you. He chose the company over everyone, including me. I just happened to be the one willing to put it first. She left without another word. Marcus followed, throwing me a look of pure resentment. My mother approached cautiously. I should be angry with you, she said, for keeping this secret, for letting us all look foolish. I know, I admitted, but I'm not. I'm sad. Sad that your father felt he couldn't trust us all equally. Sad that we drove him to this choice. He didn't distrust you, Mom, I said. He just knew the company needed focused leadership. And he was right. Look at today. Vanessa would have torn it apart. Marcus would have sold his shares. The company would have fractured, and now it's intact. But the family? That's always been fragile. We just pretended otherwise. She kissed my forehead, the same way she did when I was a child. Your father would be proud, not just for running the company, but for protecting it. He always said you were the quiet one, the one who saw what the rest missed. She left with Aunt Caroline, leaving me alone with Robert Chin and the 3 independent board members. That was intense, one of them said. Necessary, I replied. Vanessa forced this confrontation. Better now than letting her build a future that could never happen. What's next? Robert asked. Back to work. 3 proposals, a profit-sharing program for employees, a $20 million expansion of the Ohio plant, and a foundation in Dad's name to support manufacturing education and apprenticeships. One might call those sentimental moves, one board member observed. My sister isn't a shareholder anymore, I said. I bought out most of her and Marcus's shares at a 30% premium last month. They each kept 2% for family reasons. They just didn't realize the timing of when it would be made public. Robert Chin chuckled. You bought them out before this meeting? I did. Everyone got what they needed. Liquidity at a premium. I got control. The company got stability. Dad taught us that family businesses fail when family interests outweigh business needs. I protected the business by acting on that lesson. And those who didn't sell? Uncle Thomas kept his because he believes in what we're building. Mom kept hers for Dad's legacy. Aunt Caroline sold half, kept half. She's practical. Everyone chose freely. I looked out over Seattle's stormy skyline. Somewhere, Dad was in rehab, recovering from his stroke. He couldn't speak, walk, or communicate much beyond hand squeezes and eye movements. But yesterday, when I told him Vanessa was making her move, he squeezed my hand 3 times, our signal. 3 squeezes. I trust you. Continue. I turned back to the board. We have a company to run. 6 months later, Morrison Industries posted its most profitable quarter ever. The Ohio plant ran at 112% capacity. Divisions Vanessa wanted sold were now thriving. Employee satisfaction hit record highs. Vanessa accepted a CEO role at a consulting firm in New York. She sent a congratulations email after our quarterly results. The animosity faded into respectful distance. Marcus invested his buyout in cryptocurrency and lost 40%. He calls occasionally, asking about board opportunities. I say no. Some lessons can't be short-circuited. Mom visits Dad daily. I join 3 times a week. Last month, Dad spoke his first word post-stroke, company. His second, good. His third, Daniel. The therapist called it remarkable progress. I call it Dad being Dad, checking on the business, letting me know I'd done right. The board position I reserved for Vanessa remains open. She may never take it, but the offer stands. She's my sister, brilliant. She just needed to learn what I learned 15 years ago. The best power isn't seized. It's earned so thoroughly that nobody can take it away. Morrison Industries is mine, not through scheming, not manipulation, but by becoming exactly the person Dad and the company needed. 15 years of patience, dedication, and understanding built this empire. Because true understanding, quiet perseverance, and unwavering loyalty aren't flashy, they aren't loud, but they are unstoppable. And in the end, they build legacies that last generations.